What up? What up? What up? What up? All you little baby birds, little baby bird. My bird here to throw up in your mouth with some knowledge. Little, whatever, dude. I haven't really worked out a good intro for this thing. So we're just gonna get right into it, huh? This is me talking to you like from the past, but me talking to you guys in the future. Like as I record this, knowing that you guys will eventually watch this, but like not until the future. But as you're watching this, like technically I'm in the past. You know what I mean? Crazy. It's wild. Okay, so what this video kind of serves as is one, a review of the IWA. We've talked about the IWA before, but I'm going to review some stuff about it real fast. And then I'm going to go over the outline and a rundown of a successful IWA and like how to organize it and yada, yada, yada. Right. So share my screen real fast. Let's do that. Uh, what? Share. Come on. Yay! All right, I got a bunch of boxes on my screen that you don't have on your screen, and I'm trying to move them all around so that way I can click on all the stuff I need to click on. That'd be cool, huh? Okay. Zoom kind of sucks, dude. Not kind of, it really does. All right. We have gone over these things before, but there's a few that I just want to remind you of because I'm sure that you've forgotten a lot of this information. So just going to go through it real fast, right? So individual written argument, it's 2,000 word max. You get a 10% cushion, so that's 2,200 words. All right. If you go over the word count, anything that you type after the word count, max limit, they don't read it. So you're essentially wasting your time at that point, anyways. So if you're somebody who's like, well, I'll just keep it in because I don't know, like it's necessary and they'll read it anyways. Nah, it's just like when you guys present, if you hit the time limit, I have to like stop listening technically and not grade anything that you say after that. It's the same concept. So make sure you don't go over the word limit. Uh, Now, you've already read the stimulus material, so we don't really have to talk a lot about this. You've already identified a theme connection, so we don't have to talk about that. And you've already made a research question out of the whole thing, so we don't have to talk about that. You're like way ahead of the game because we had to do the presentation first, which means that this should be a walk in the park, right? Your paper should kind of write itself ideally, right? Because you have already gathered information from a range of sources. You've already done all the hardest steps. So, blah, 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 blah. You already have a research question. You already have alternate views. Let's see. Let's go through this. Obviously, now we're getting into the good stuff. Explain the significance or importance of your research question by situating it within a larger context. Here's what that means. That means in the introduction, right? You break down exactly why your issue is important. You have to give context for the issue. You have to give background information on the issue. This is where you would start to break down uh, kind of the history of the topic, I guess, if like it's something that isn't necessarily well known. This is where you'll break down stuff that, someone who didn't research this topic would, you know, not necessarily know unless they research the topic. And this is where you really set yourself up, right, for introducing your research question, giving the answer, which is your thesis, and then ultimately leading us to your solution. Think when you gave your presentation, right? All that stuff that you kind of said in the beginning before you got to your research question, right? So, like the 1 or 2 minutes or however long you took in your presentation to give us background and context information. And then when you finally were like, and this led me to this research question, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff that you discussed, that's kind of what this is, right? Uh, doing this obviously important. It's like a whole row on the rubric, and I'll talk about that rubric in a second. But this is obviously super important, right? Organizing your argument so that all your claims and your evidence and all that stuff links, obviously important as well. Uh, what that means is that when you have a claim, and you will have claims throughout the entire paper because it is an argument, that you have evidence linked to all of those claims. Anytime you make a claim in this paper, it needs to be backed up with some sort of evidence to kind of bolster your argument, right? Uh, Now, you not only have to link or have evidence to support those claims, you have to synthesize the evidence, and you have to make sure that all the stuff that you put in there, so all the evidence and the sources, right, are linked back so that the reader knows. why you had that stuff in there in the first place. And that's kind of part of the synthesis of it all. You know what I mean? Uh, and then this is a big one, right? We've talked about this. This is an all or nothing in the rubric, right? You either get all the points or you get none of the points. You're going to fully integrate at least one of the stimulus sources, which means you have to use it as evidence and you have to put it in conversation with another piece of evidence. That is how you're going to get this to be considered fully integrated. Okay. So wherever you use it in the paper is up to you. And you could try to use that source more than once, right? If that's going to make you feel better, if you feel like, man, that'll give me a better shot at making sure at least one of these times that I used it, it's fully integrated. That's up to you, but it has to be evidence for a claim and it has to be linked to another piece of evidence by putting them in conversation with each other. That's the only way that you're going to get it done. And if you don't, then you lose 6 points, right? And that's kind of important because that takes you from a 36 down to a 30. So at best, you're looking at a 30 out of 36, and that's if you write a perfect paper, right? And you don't want to have to put that kind of like pressure on yourself at that point. So I have a way to make sure that this gets done. We'll talk about that in a second. So uh, let's see. Let's see. Obviously, we've talked about this before. You have to use whatever two stimulus sources that you connected in your presentation that you talked about. They need to appear somewhere in the intro. This was marked in the IWA that we annotated, if you remember that. And I like put brackets around it. I said explanation of STEMI or something like that. And that was that person, that student's two stimulus sources that they used in their intro to help provide further context. What this does for you is it allows the AP reader, AP grader, whatever, to see that you definitely took two of the stimulus sources, and it gives them context for like how you connected them and the theme that you kind of build everything off of. And this helps you avoid the whole like off topic thing. Because remember, if they think it's off topic, you get no score at all. You get a 0, right? So this helps you avoid that. So that's a big deal, obviously. And then you already have your 3 different lenses, right? So look at that. Don't have to worry about that. You've picked them. If you decide like, hey, you know what? When I did this presentation, one of these lenses just didn't feel great, and you're going to switch up one of those lenses now, that's up to you. You'll have to go and you'll have to find the sources. And if you're going to take that, chance or risk, fine. But, you know, that's completely up to you. You do have that option available to you, but that's up to you. Don't do any more than 3 lenses because you don't have the word count for it, and you can't do any less than 3 lenses. So we're going to stick with 3. I know it says at least 3, but we're just going to stick with 3. All right. And then obviously the different perspectives. These are all your different sources. These are all the different people who have different things to say. And when you put them in your paper, just like you did in the IRR, you will have to have your sources in conversation with each other. Okay. Um, Now, you obviously have to talk about any. Uh, Never mind. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I was about to start talking solutions, but I don't want to talk about that yet. Let's just talk perspectives. Remember, a perspective is literally just somebody's opinion about something. So make sure that you have your varying perspectives, which means that you shouldn't be using like 5 sources in the paper. You guys have a total of 12. You should be using at least like 9, 10, 11. If you go and you look at that night sample, the one that we annotated, go down to their bibliography and look at just how many sources they used in the paper, right? This is it's the AP graders, they grade this, right, with it's more harsh how they grade this than they would grade your IRR, because by this point in the year, they think, okay, you have a better handle on doing these things. So, what's considered varying perspectives there's more expected out of it. Also, you have 3 different lenses, so they expect you to have varying perspectives. You should definitely have multiple perspectives throughout this whole thing, because if you have 3 different lenses, that's 3 different ways of viewing it, which means that's 3 different lenses worth of perspectives. So, hopefully that made sense. But and of course, citing all your sources. If you have forgotten a lot of the citation stuff, go find the slides, refresh, right? There's no excuse for this. They're in Google Classroom somewhere. Go find them, make sure you're using them. And citations and bibliography, all of this stuff, there's no excuse for it to not be correct, especially your works cited page. And the first time that you guys get a grade check, and the second time, anytime I do a grade check on this IWA, I expect perfect formatting. So it's the same thing as last time with IRR. Like if you don't have perfect formatting, you're not going to pass the grade check, right? Because I can't grade it for content. but I can grade it for making sure that it's meeting the word count and that all your formatting is correct. So make sure that that's on point. All right. Let's see. We just talked about this off topic gets a score of a 0. So we're going to avoid that. You've already done your presentation, so this shouldn't be an issue, right? Now, as we go through this little rubric, this first part, I said 6 points, didn't I? It's 5 points. I'm sorry. You would lose 5 points if you didn't get this done. This is integrating, right? So this is providing your context and your background in your intro. And this is also making sure one of the sources is fully integrated at some point in the paper, right? Now, here's the thing. Here's what you're gonna do when you guys go to type this paper. And I need you now, if you haven't been paying attention the whole video, I need you to lock in right here with me right now. I need you to be right here with me right now. All right. When you go to type this IWA, one thing that I need you guys to do is I need you to highlight two different things. One, I need you to highlight where you think you have integrated fully one of the stimulus sources in your paper, okay? I need you to highlight that when you go to type your IWA because I'm going to check. And if you haven't, I'm going to say no. If you have, I'll say yes. But I can't tell you any more than that. I can't tell you how to do it. I can only say yes or no, okay? But I need you to highlight where you think you fully integrated your stimulus source, all right? Now, before I move on to the rest of the rubric, what I also need you to do is I need you to highlight or underline, it's up to you, and I would do this in a different color if you're going to highlight it, where you placed your research question, thesis, right? Your research question and your thesis. I need you to do that. Those will obviously be in the intro. And then I need you to highlight or underline, and if you're going to highlight, do it in another different color, where you put the two stimulus sources for context in your intro, okay? These are all things that I could say yes or no to, but I can't tell you how to fix it if I say no, but at least you'll know, hey, I need to take a look at this, okay? So just to recap, I need you to highlight or underline the two stimulus sources in the intro that you use for context. I need you to highlight or underline your research question and thesis, okay? And then I need you to highlight your source that you fully integrated, right? So wherever you attempted to fully integrate it, I need you to highlight it, okay? And if you attempted more than once, highlight them all right? Remember, it doesn't count in the intro. How you use the sources in the intro is not going to count because you can't fully integrate it in the intro because it's not being used as evidence, okay? So make sure you highlight all of that stuff, all right? All right, okay. Hopefully you paid attention. I have no idea, but let's see. Come on, dude, go to the next thing. This is an example of, remember, we talked about this, bro, why is it, hold on. Sorry, guys. This is like not looking the same for me as it is for you. And my stuff is freezing. So, oh, no, dude, come on. There we go. This was an example. We've gone over this before. This is their use of stimulus source in the intro. Does not count as essential use. Does not count as fully integrated because it's in the intro. It's just providing context. And remember, I went over this with you. This does count as essential use or fully integrated because they used it in the body. They put it in conversation with another source, and it serves as evidence for whatever claim. So if I took this out of that particular section of the paper, it would weaken it because they're using it as evidence to support whatever it is that they're arguing for. So it's a simple concept. It's really not that hard, I promise. Now, row 2. This is also intro, right? So this is significance or putting it in context and all that stuff. This is what we talked about. This is the whole, when you gave your presentation, the information you gave that led to your research question, that's the same kind of concept here, right? So this needs to be on point because this is all, also all points are no points. So make sure that you're doing this. Again, this is all review, so I'm not going to go over this a bunch. This is like an example of high scoring, right? This is just a section of the paper. This is just me pointing things out to you. that they used in the paper, and then this would be a low scoring because this was their entire intro. Remember, I went over that before. The key to you kind of passing and doing well, not passing, but getting a great score on your IWA is using the night shift paper, the one we annotated, as like your Bible for this. Okay. Consider me, I was gonna say consider me Jesus, but that's like an insult to Jesus. So I'm not gonna say that. Consider me your prophet, whatever, dude. I'm the guy in this class, right? And I'm handing you this text, and it is your Bible, right? So it is what you will follow. Uh, that and the outline rundown that I'll talk about after all of this. So those are going to be your keys. Okay. Anytime you need an example of what stuff should kind of look like, you're going to reference the sample that we annotated and the whole rundown of things. So, which means I'm going to kind of fly through this now. Multiple perspectives. This is all about, having all your different sources and putting them in conversations. Okay. A conversation with each other. This is when you talk solutions and you make sure you mention implications and limitations of those particular solutions, even if it's your main solution. Okay. Uh, so this is also like having a counter argument. The IWA sample we annotated gives you an example of what a counter argument would look like in an IWA. So make sure you check it out. But that also is counted in this whole multiple perspectives thing because it's giving a perspective from the other side of your particular argument. All right. So moving on, this is just where I pulled it from in the paper, but it's not the whole part, right? And this is the continuation of that same sample. Now, your argument being well organized and clear and convincing, this is should be easy, right? It's almost impossible to land in the zero, so you should get somewhere between 8 and 12 points as long as this is like, I don't know, makes sense. So, it tells you right here that all the information is organized. You provide commentary that explains fully how the evidence supports the claims. So you don't just like make a claim and then have evidence. You have the synthesis after the evidence, or even if you're going to do the synthesis towards the end of the section, you somewhere, some way, somehow explain how the evidence that you've given supports the claims that you have made. All right. Um, let's see. Bah, 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 bah. I mean, you guys should know how to put together an argument by now, but you never know. This is your evidence. You guys will at minimum get 6 points in this row because the first thing they're going to do is go to your works cited page, your bibliography, whatever you want to call it. They're going to look at the sources you use. I only let you use scholarly sources, so guess what? At minimum, you're going to get 6 points in this row just for having the scholarly sources. So making sure that you use them effectively, right? And you connect them to your argument and you provide the synthesis for the evidence. That's how you're going to get into this 9 points. If you didn't piece it together, this row 4, right? And this row right here, row 5, are kind of linked together. So if you synthesize and you use your evidence effectively, right, and you can get the 9 points here, that's essentially going to link and get you the 12 points in the other row. So this is all just, again, you piecing together an argument that is well done, okay? And that your commentary is effective and it explains everything, which means the reader should know exactly why you used what you used and how it is supporting and how it's doing the things that you're trying to get it to do. Okay. They shouldn't be left with any questions. And if they are, you're not going to get the points. I don't know what to tell you. All right. This is just about citing. We've gone over how to do this. There's no excuse to get all 5 points, to not get all 5 points in this row. So you're going to get all 5 points in this row because you're going to make sure that your formatting is perfect and that your in-text citations are correct and that your works cited page is correct and that you've done everything in that arena correctly, right? And then, oh yeah, must establish further credibility, just like you did in the IRR. That's like when you say so-and-so, doctor of blah, blah, blah from blah, blah, blah. The same thing that you did in the IRR, you're going to be doing here. Okay. So that helps you in this area also. And then you have your grammar. Is that what this is? Yeah, grammar, I think. They're not looking for like absolute perfection, but you can't. They say few flaws. I wish I could tell you like how many. I wish there was a magic number, but there's not. If at any point in your paper your grammar makes it hard for them to understand what you're trying to say, they're going to immediately knock you down to 2 points. So missing a comma here and there is fine. That's what they mean by few flaws. But having a section in the paper where your sentence structure makes it difficult to understand your point That's not considered like a little minor flaw. That's a big enough flaw to knock you down to 2 points, right? And I get it. It's like, oh, big deal, dude. I lost 1 point. But every point when there's only 36 points to get kind of matters. You know what I mean? So I think that's the end. Yeah. Okay, cool. So these videos, let's back out of this, are already clipped for you, right? For the certain sections to watch. I need you to watch these videos. This is a AP grader. Uh, Employed by College Board at this point, so she no longer is an AP grader, but was breaking down exactly what they're going to be looking for when they go to grade these things. You have to watch these videos. It's not a request. You need to watch these videos before you ever even think about typing an IWA. All right. Um, the IWA sample, right? And these videos, right? So we'll add the videos in there too. That's your Bible, all right? So you will reference these if you're ever stuck. This video is key, right? Any kid who's ever been successful in AP seminar with the IWA has used the IWA sample that we annotated, the rundown outline, and these videos, okay? This isn't me just blowing smoke up your butt. This is me telling you exactly how to be successful with this. So you either heed my advice or you don't. It would be pretty stupid not to. Like, so it's like, what does Mr. Hodge know? I don't know, dude. Just got 2 degrees and have taught this class multiple times, and highest pass rates in the state, and we beat the global pass rate. So maybe I know a thing or two. I don't know. That's just me, spitballing. So watch the videos, dude. Now, I'm sorry that took so long. Hopefully you watched the whole thing. I have no idea. We're gonna explain the outline now and how to do it. It's pretty straightforward. So I understand that for some people, outlines are annoying and it's not necessarily how your brain works, but you're going to do your best with this, okay? It's more of like a questionnaire to make sure that things are organized. Now, your IMP planning sheet could probably be useful for this. And since you've already organized this argument for the presentation, organizing it for your paper should be easy. Now, it doesn't translate directly. Your presentation doesn't translate directly to your paper and vice versa. So how you plan it and how you organize it isn't going to be exactly the same, but it will be similar, okay? Because there's stuff that you didn't have in your presentation that you're going to need in your paper. Because your presentation is like a condensed version of your argument. Your paper is all the detail for your argument. So um, it does give you an option of creating your own outline, but it tells you exactly what you're going to need for that. Uh, and I try to give kids that option if this whole outline doesn't make sense for their brain. But essentially, all you do is you go through and you answer the questions, right? So these are questions that you have to answer. I know it doesn't look like it, but you answer these questions. And then down here, you answer these questions, right? So anytime you see these bullet points, these are questions. It tells you what to do. And then you fill out this table, right? So this is asking you about what evidence you're going to use to support whatever your first lens is going to be, okay? Uh, your first lens, I would say, your first lens and your third lens should be your 2 strongest, right? Because you want to start strong and you want to end strong. So out of your 3 lenses, if you have like kind of a weaker one, I would put that one in the middle, right? Um, it's just like, you want to come out of the gate strong and you want to leave them thinking, wow, that was great. So if there is a weaker lens that you have, I would put that in the middle, would be my advice to you. So now, you put your little sources in here and you're just telling me like how you're going to use it, right? So line of reasoning, the argument that you're going to make, and the relevance, right? So this is like your synthesis when you go to connect it and things like that. And then you answer these questions, and then it's kind of the same thing, right? Throughout the whole thing. And then you get down here, you talk possible solutions, limitations, implications. This is not like how you're going to structure your paper. This is literally the planning of your paper. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Mr. Hodge, how am I going to know how to put the paper together? Let me tell you. When you go to actually type the paper, here is the rundown. So when you hear me say the IWA outline rundown, this is what I'm talking about, right? So this is me deconstructing and putting together exactly the steps. So if you look at this outline, uh, and then you look at the IWA sample, it'll look awfully familiar because this is me taking your IWA sample that we annotated, deconstructing it, and breaking it down to exactly how that person organized their paper. Okay. So this is the exact order that they went in when they typed their paper. Okay. Now it's a lot, I know, but this paper is going to be a lot. So, um, it well, I think it's easier to type this paper, right? Than the IRR, but there is more to it, so it does take a little bit longer. But since you're making an argument, I think that like is easier for your guys' brains because most of the writing you've done in high school is argumentative. So, anyways, it's just broken down, right? So you have your introduction, and it breaks down exactly like how that introduction should be structured. Same thing for the body paragraphs, right? So it breaks down how all of that should be structured. It tells you where's the best place to kind of put that counter argument in and exactly how to do that. Um, Now, let's talk about some things here with this counter argument. Uh, Evidence, when it says this, it's talking specifically about evidence for the counterclaim, right? So you're going to say, you're going to start to present the other potential side of the argument, right? Obviously. And you'll need evidence that supports that side, right? So, of course, we're talking about like people who would choose that side, right? You're not going to start arguing for the other side. That wouldn't make sense. You guys know how to do a counter argument, right? So you're going to present the other side of the argument and potential evidence that they would use to support. And by they, I just mean whatever perspective. Potential evidence that would be used to support that argument. Then you come in with your rebuttal. How do you rebuttal? Well, you have to give evidence, right? So your rebuttal is kind of like synthesis and reasoning, and then you have to have evidence to back it up. So your rebuttal is your claim, excuse me, and then your evidence, right, to back up. Oh my God, sorry, I thought I was about to die. Your evidence to back up your rebuttal. Okay, like I said, anytime you have a claim, you have to have evidence to like substantiate, to bolster, to support the claims. All right. Now, you would probably look through this and be like, "Wow, Mr. Hobbs, this is a lot of different evidence in a lot of different places." You will use some of these sources in different places, right? And this is why I said you're going to need 9, 10, 11, whatever of however many of your sources in the paper, because there's a lot of evidence involved because you have to support all the stuff that you're claiming with evidence. So, uh, anyways, so then you move on, right? So you get into your fourth body, and this is ideally where you would probably try to fit your stimulus source connection, right? Now, it does not have to go in this paragraph. This is just me breaking down a logical place to put it. It does not have to go here. Do your integration where it makes sense for you and your paper, okay? Do it where it makes sense for you and your paper. This is just when I deconstructed it where they had theirs, okay? Maybe it doesn't make sense to put yours there. Figure it out. All right. Then they move into their second lens finally, right? And then they talk about problems potentially with those solutions. This is not going to be an exact science, okay? How this is deconstructed will not work exactly for all of you the same because maybe you don't want to talk about potential solutions yet in that second lens. Um, and that's fine. Figure it out wherever it makes sense for you. This is just really to show you how to kind of break it down, where you should like start to talk about different lenses and things like that, and where you need evidence and all that good stuff, right? So there is tweaking that you'll have to do. It's not an exact science. It's different for everybody and everybody's papers. But this is ideally something that you would follow, right? But I think you understand what I'm saying. So, third lens, that's where they get into that, and then they start to have a breakdown, and then you finally get into the conclusion, right? So this is finally talking about your solution and supporting and call to action and all that good stuff, right? So uh that's it, for sorry, I'm trying to like think. This is me in the past. This is me still putting stuff together. Oh, you can see like when I'm doing this. Right around the IMP planning and everything, you guys. Trying to make sure. Oh, this is literally, first of all, you guys have no idea how long this took me to put together. Because this is what I gave to Miss Womack. That's your long-term sub. Like these are her plans. Well, it's just a breakdown of what you guys are going to be doing, and then I made a student version for you guys. So you're welcome. This walks you through all the things that you're going to be doing. It's also on the calendar, but this kind of gives you expectations and things as well. Anyways, I'm trying to make sure that I covered everything that's important for right now in this video. And yes, okay. Oh, that's the IWA sample, the one that I keep talking about, the night one. Um, if you can't access this, I'm gonna it's not in here right now. I'm gonna put a file version, like a PDF version of the annotated IWA, the night sample. I'll put that in here as well. Um, because some of you have problems with Cami for whatever reason. So, as far as this video is concerned, as far as going over the IWA and the outline and all the expectations, right? That should be about it. Let's stop sharing now. Um, if you have questions, you can't really email me. Not really allowed to check my email. If you get stuck, if you 100% get stuck, you can through Remind reach out to me. How quickly I answer will vary depending on how parenthood is going. But yeah, so if you do have questions, if you are really stuck or confused or whatever, you can reach out and I'll still try my best to answer you. I'm just not making any promises. Um, but yeah, that's where we are. So get the outline and stuff. You guys ever seen Finding Nemo? She taps on the glass. It's like fish, fishy, 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 and then she tries to kill him with love, though. You know. Anyways, make sure you get the IWA done or the outline. I'm sorry, the outline done. Um, yeah, the outline, the planning, and all that good stuff done, and then you need to start on your actual IWA. All right, because you don't have a whole lot of time coming up on the end here. All right, thanks.